The film The Hate U Give is based on a tale of a girl named Star, who watched her childhood best friend get shot by a white police officer while driving home from a party. Star is a 16-year-old girl from Garden Heights, a predominantly black neighborhood with poor wages. Star has two brothers, Sananki and Seven. Each one of their names has meaning behind it. Sananki for joy, Star for light in the darkness, and Seven for protection. Maverick is the name of Star's father, who owns a small grocery store in Garden Heights. Her mother is Lisa Carta. She has a white boyfriend named Chris and goes to a predominantly white neighborhood called Williamson. The book started off at a party, but not a birthday party. It's your typical Friday night high school party. At the party, Star bumps into her old friend Clete Harris. After a while spending time together, they hear gunshots. They run to Clete's car. They were stopped by a white police officer when they were driving home from the party. When they were pulled over, they forced Khalid out the car. When the officer returned to his car, Khalid moved out of the spot he was told to be in to check on Star to see if she was okay. When he did, he reached for a hairbrush. When he reached for the hairbrush, he was shot by the police officer because the police officer predicted that it was a gun when it wasn't. Star has an uncle that is a police officer. He's a black police officer who started defending the officer that was in charge of Khalid's murder that night. He was also known as Officer 115. When Star went to the police station to tell her side of the story and what she saw the night of Khalid's death, they kept trying to justify why the officer shot him when there was no reason, and all he did was grab a hairbrush when he predicted that it was a gun. He had no justification on killing him that night. During this time of uncertainty of what's happening to Officer 115 of the night of Khalid's death, protests have started to get justice for Khalid. Star is asked by Miss Oprah, who is Star's lawyer in this process, and also a community organizer who leads Just Us for Justice. She encourages Star to use her voice for activism and go on national TV and share her part of the story of what happened the night of Khalid's murder. But she is scared of the backlash she is going to get and for her family for speaking out. She is nervous because of the King. King is the biggest drug dealer in Garden Heights and the leader of the King Lords, which is a gang that is popular in Garden Heights. They are trying to justify Khalid's death by saying that he was a drug dealer, but when he was forced to sell drugs by the King to get his family out of poverty, and by speaking up and saying what really happened, Star would have to call out the King and his gang on national TV, and Star is scared that King will come for her and her family if she goes out and protests for Khalid on national TV. During this time, Star has decided to do the interview on the news, but she wanted her face blocked out and voice changes over so people couldn't tell it was her. During the interview, she ratted out King, and after King came looking for her and her family because he knows that she is the only one that could have known that from that night. And hearing from King's younger daughter that was at the party at the same night told King that Star is the one that went home with Khalid that night in the car, so that she was the only one there. During all of this happening, Star was driving with her boyfriend and Chris and her older brother Seven as they see a protest happening in the middle of the street. Star jumps out of the car with her boyfriend and her brother to see what was going on. They heard from a random lady on the street that Khalid did not get justice and the Officer 115 is back on duty with no penalties. During this time of everyone was trying to crowd the officers and make their way down to the police station to protest. Because of this, the officers released tear gas. With tear gas in everyone's eyes, everyone is running for help, and one of Maverick's friends picked up Star and the group and dropped them off at Maverick's store in Garden Heights. Not knowing the danger of what could happen there, knowing that it's a local business that everyone knows of, knowing that it's a family business of Star's. After getting dropped off, someone throws a burning bottle at the door and lights everything on fire, including the whole store. They realize that it was King through the window with the burning fire everywhere. Maverick gets there in 10 minutes from a neighbor calling him, telling him his store was on fire. The police showed up and everyone blamed it on King, which got him locked up. At the end of the book, before the cops came, King held a gun to Maverick's head, and Sanaki came out of nowhere with a random gun that was left and said, "Let my dad go." In this moment, Star knew that this was Thug Life, which stands for the hate you give little infants F's everybody, which means if society doesn't protect its youngest members, it affects society and everyone around them. He grew up around this product of environment, so that's all he knows how to do. This is one of the main topics in the book and also one of the main themes. Although Khalid did not get justice and the officer remained unpenalized. Even though King got arrested, the main theme in the book was speaking up for what is right. The night of Khalid's death, she knew that speaking up was the right thing to do because it was the hardest. It put herself and her family in danger. This novel enlightens on police brutality and racism. The end of the novel, Star is making a promise to Khalid's memory that she won't remain silent and will continue fighting for injustice for her community.